It is the end of the week, and what a week it has been in pop music. Sabrina Carpenter has a new album out. The Beaches have a new album out. And you know, that casual engagement announcement that broke the internet. I think you know the one. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Reanna Cruz is here. Natalie Harmsen is here. And Fran Hoepfner is here. Hello to all of you. Nice to have you here.
Morning. Howdy,
Hi. How's it going? There's a lot to talk about, but I think we got to start with Sabrina. And why don't we just hear some new music right now?
A little initiative can go a very long, long way. Maybe just do the dishes, I'll give you what you want. A little communication, yes, that's my ideal for play. Assemble a chair from IKEA, I'm like, I get wet at the thought of you. Being the responsible guy.
That song is called Tears. It is a second single from Sabrina's new album, Man's Best Friend. All of you stayed up late listening to this record because it dropped last night. Natalie, we'll start with you. What'd you think of the record, pal?
Okay, so it's a lot less raunchy than I thought it was going to be. I feel like when she teased this album isn't for the pearl clutchers, that signaled it was going to be a bit racier to me. So that was interesting. I think overall, it's a less tight record than Short and Sweet was, in my opinion. There's fewer big hooks and hooky moments across it, although it is still very theatrical. It's all over the map in terms of sound. We're getting country, we're getting 80s dance pop, we're getting disco, and the production is excellent. It's very polished, so shout out to Jack Antonoff and shout out to Amy Allen as well. She co-wrote on every single song, which is great.
Just the words, shout out Jack Antonoff, words in the English language that you don't hear very often. And so
Fighting words.
I commend you for being one of the bravest among us to say those words. Fran, the video for Tears dropped also last night. And like, I do think of Sabrina Carpenter actually as like an incredibly talented homagist. You know, I think that is like one of the things that she does best. She sort of like pulls different pop culture references and she says, why don't we make them new and maybe fun? And then you're getting a lot of like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You're getting a lot of other homages in this new video. Talk to me about how you feel about the Tears video.
I think the Tears video is awesome. I'm definitely getting a lot of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm also getting a little bit of like the Frankie Says Relax sequence from Body Double. And this kind of like walking into this like unpredictable sort of like glam 80s, spooky, but in a sexy way kind of setting. And I think Coleman Domingo, who's plays kind of her other half, not really the love interest, but sort of leads the video with her, is such an awesome presence. He looks amazing. He's so fun. They have such a great just music video chemistry with one another. And I think it felt so unexpected and really playful. I might like the video more than the song, but I think the video elevates the song a lot as well.
It's like I heard the song first. I was like, this song's okay. And then I was watching the video. I was like, am I in love with this song? Is this like, it kind of makes it like much more effective to just sort of like see it kind of come to life and see Coleman Domingo lip syncing some of those lyrics as you're watching it. Rihanna, I have to say that like the conversation with Sabrina Carpenter quite often outpaces the music for me. And I say this as someone who like enjoys the music fine. Like I like Short and Sweet. I like a lot of Short and Sweet. But you know, the cover for Man's Best Friend came out earlier this year. You know, it's like this cover of Sabrina Carpenter. She's on her knees. She's in a little black dress. And then there's like a hand that has like a fistful of her hair. And everyone was like, this is too sexual. This is too controversial. And she was like, yeah, well, get ready because the album is going to be something else. And then the album comes out. Do you feel like you listen to this record and go like, wow, what a provocative album. I did not expect this from Sabrina Carpenter. Or was it kind of like in the pocket of what you thought it would be?
It was pretty similar to what I anticipated, frankly. I mean, Sabrina Carpenter is the type of pop star that is very like cheeky and winking, you know, like her songs are laden in innuendo. It's not like she's like overtly sexual. It's like she's like playing the character of like Betty Boop, right? Or like a 50s pinup girl where it's like the idea of being sexual is the character. I don't know if she necessarily like believes it, you know, like she's not giving me like Madonna erotica at all, but I think she's trying to be a little cheeky. And so when I was listening to the record, it feels very much in line with most pop today, where it's like provocative for not necessarily going all the way and like being really jaw-dropping, like, oh, pearl clutching and all that.
Mm.
But it's in line for her. And I think in the landscape of pop, we're not really getting many artists that are pushing the envelope. So for her to have such sexually explicit lyrics is a step in the right direction.
Rihanna's like, bring back Madonna 1993.
Bro,
Where is that
how
at?
I feel. Exactly.
Yeah, like pop music. He was like, there was a time when pop music would just say the thing, and now we're kind of dancing around it. Okay, let's hear a little bit more from the album. This song is called Go Go Juice.
I'm just drinking to call someone. A girl who knows her liquor is a girl who's been dumped. Sipping on my go-go juice, I can't be blamed. Some good old-fashioned fun, sure knows.
Okay, so that's Go Go Juice from Sabrina Carpenter's new album. Natalie, you mentioned earlier, like, the idea of, like, you know, this is an album that's jumping around a bunch of different sounds. She's just sort of, like, occupying a bunch of different modes. That was kind of the case with Short and Sweet when it came out. Do you feel like she's successful in her experimentation? Or are you like, Sabrina, there's a couple lanes that you do better. Please stick to those.
I always love the willingness to try. I think that's a huge thing that not a lot of artists are necessarily doing that anymore. I think they're very comfortable switching and doing an entire album in one genre. So I do like the fact that she plays with a few different sounds here. But I will say Go Go Juice is probably my favorite song on the record. And it makes me wish that she did a full country album. She's really, I think, channeling Dolly Parton here. I'm getting Getting Happy meets Highlight of My Life, which are two songs I really love. And I think, to me, maybe this is a signal or a hint of what the next project could entail. I mean, given this trend we've seen of a lot of pop stars pivoting to country and doing that shift, I wouldn't be surprised. Also, with the success of Manchild, which is also quite country tinged, and that going to #1, I think that's what I would like to see from her next.
I gotta say that you know, when I think about Short and Sweet, I think my favorite song on that album was Coincidence, which is again occupying this like space of like just hinting at country, and she's so good at it and it's so natural to her to the point where you go like, yeah, I want more of this. Jack Antonoff can stick around and also produce that. I don't mind that. Yeah, I said it. Fran, I want to ask you again about this. You know, we keep returning to this idea of like Sabrina as an homagist, but also an homagist to the Betty Boop thing that Rihanna mentioned. I think, you know, she is sort of trying to occupy this like horny blonde bombshell situation. She's kind of, you know, every live performance that she gets, you know, that gets seen is her in that mode. Do you feel like you want to see something different from her at this point? Or are you like, this is working, actually, keep at it?
This album feels a little bit like the capstone of that. It might push the bit maybe as far as it can go, given that she does toe this line from being like outright explicit and just sort of slipping into innuendo like you see in Tears. I think this persona has really like taken over this album. I think she really is maybe not trying to upset the pearl clutchers, but I think she's trolling a little bit and really playing up that element. And while I think it works really well on this album, especially because there's some anger laced into this album, it's definitely a breakup album. I would be curious to see thematically where she can go after that, given she's so good at so many different styles.
Rihanna, my working theory on this, and you can absolutely go, hey, Elamin, that theory is nuts. Please never run that theory by me again. Okay. Is that this album's arriving now because she's trying to pull a Shaboozey, which is to say that like Shaboozey's on the Beyonce album, and then you're like, time it just so the album from him comes out around the time as people are like, okay, we're paying attention to what he does. Taylor Swift announces a new album. That album's arriving in October. We know that the only featured artist on that album is Sabrina Carpenter. She's like, maybe I should have a new project out, and this album arrives now because I can't think of another reason why you would put this project 1 year after Short and Sweet came out. That was last August. It's been a year and 4 days. Does this feel like it's like, okay, here's a new sound? Or are we getting like Short and Sweet B-sides here? Like what's your feel on this?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. Or when I was listening, I felt that it didn't really push the envelope enough to be a whole new era. You know, like we live in this time of pop stars having like eras, right? And
yeah,
this feels, you know, and this feels so similar to Short and Sweet, where the first time I heard Manchild, it felt like it was a deluxe song from Short and Sweet. Like, you know, pop stars are in this trend of releasing like large sweeping deluxe albums, you know, Taylor Swift included. And when I first heard Manchild, I thought it was that case. And then listening to Man's Best Friend, all the songs sound like they could relate to the songs on Short and Sweet. Like, we're not really like getting anything super revolutionary. And I think the albums kind of serve as companions of each other, you know?
Natalie, it's giving dedicated B-sides. Like, that's what I'm hearing here. You know, in terms of like this idea of like, hey, I got these bunch of songs, we worked on them, why not sort of put them out? Do you feel like that dilutes the output of an artist if you kind of get another album that feels like it's like, you know what, this is two of a piece with the album that I just heard from you like 13 months ago?
Because then I feel it wouldn't be taking away something with that. I think her fans are going to eat it up and are going to love it. And kind of how it was already mentioned, the timing of it is very strategic here. She's coming off of the Grammy win. She's coming off of headlining Lollapalooza and playing Coachella. So I think in that sense, it's doing everything that it needs to do. You know, she's gearing up to play the VMAs, I think next week or the week after, very soon in early September. So I think she's just really keeping that wave of momentum going with this.
My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Today we're talking about the big pop music albums that dropped this week, and we are going to switch gears to listen to this album, which came out today. That is a bit of Did I Say Too Much? That's off the new Beaches album. It's called No Hard Feelings. Natalie, I'm going to start with you, pal. How have the Beaches evolved since the last record that we sort of had from them?
I would say this is the most commercial they've ever sounded to me. I'm hearing a lot of sonic evolution. I'm hearing some power pop, some jangle pop, lots of really big hooks across this record. But I'm also thematically seeing some change and growth as well. There's a track, Dirty Laundry, which is a really synthy type of earworm that I really like. And on it, Jordan sings about getting cheated on, but also that she's partly at fault for loving this person and taking them back. So I think we're seeing growth in terms of them still singing about being messy and being imperfect in their love lives, but also taking accountability. And to me, that reads as being very authentic.
Okay, I want to come back to the themes that are being explored in this album, and I'm going to put that to Reanna in just a moment. But Fran, I want to ask you about the space that we have right now in culture for sort of like women-centered rock bands, because I feel like we have a few. We don't have a lot, but we have a few. You know, I like Haim obviously comes to mind because they're about to come to Toronto next week. But when you hear the Beaches, do you feel like this is adding something to that landscape?
Definitely. I think this is a little bit more of an upbeat act, and I think a lot of the sort of female-led rock bands right now feel a little bit more 70s inspired. I think we're seeing a lot of 70s sort of reincarnations out there right now, and I hear a lot of 80s in the Beaches. I hear a lot of like the Bangles, and in the sound and in the tonality of it, it's really musical and poppy without sacrificing that rock element. And I think it's bringing a really welcome like musicality to the rock space right now.
Okay, so Reanna, one thing that sort of stands out for me from this album is like, again, like some of the queer themes that they sort of incorporate into the music. Have a listen to this.
Heavy from the pressure, they all know my story. Wish I had the answer for a friend, Dorothy. Lesbian of the year. How did I get here?
One thing the Beaches are going to do is write a hook. You know, they're just incredibly hooky band. So that song is called Lesbian of the Year. What do you make of the way the sort of queerness shows up on this record, which has a lot of songs that have been like, I was dating this woman and then she left me and she left me for a man and I'm really upset about it. That is like, I feel like that's maybe 6 of the songs on this record and they all work brilliantly for me. But what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's nice to have a rock band be so open about being lesbians, frankly, in 2025. You know, I think like we don't really get that a lot. And I think we're in an era where the barriers to do that in the industry have kind of shrunk, right? Like, I did an interview a couple years ago with Tegan and Sarah, and they talked to me about how difficult it was to make it as a lesbian pop duo, because all the interviewers and everybody in the music industry would just be like, tell us about your sexuality. Like, what about being a lesbian, this, that, and the third. And I think in 2025, that's less so. You know, we get artists like Chapel Roan on the charts. We get the Beaches, who are doing I'm gonna say like pro lesbian music, but for a lesbian artist, or for a lesbian art audience, where people can listen to it and relate and identify with them. And I don't think that would have existed like 10 years ago.
Rihanna, you're coining that on the show. That's what just happened.
Please,
that's now attributed to you, Reanna Cruz.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Natalie's not lost on me that, you know, as Canadian cultural exports go, the Beaches are one of our success stories. And I say this because we're just coming off a couple of weeks, you know, where like they are currently on the Freakier Friday soundtrack. They've had a really successful sort of U.S. breakthrough. When you think about this record, do you think it takes them to the next level that they need to get to? Are they kind of there in that moment, or do they still have a bit more work to do?
Is coming together for them. I mean, to me, they really brought the pop cavalry on this album. They've got songs written by Justin Tranter, who's worked with Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Casey Musgraves. They're writing with Lowell again. She worked on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album, and she's written with the Beaches before. So to me, the songwriting is as sharp as it's ever been. The album rollout has also been really great with their Last Girls at the Party DJ sets across the world, which have just looked so fun and so fan-driven. They're about to go on their biggest tour ever. They're going to be playing Scotiabank Arena here in Toronto. And they're also coming off of 2 back-to-back Juno wins for Group of the Year. So I think all of the elements are there for them to just keep getting bigger.
I can't. They are among those bands that you kind of like every time that I hear them, I go like, I'm rooting for them. I'm really truly rooting for them. I should mention that they are on Q on today's episode of Q. They talked to Tally Schlanger, and I'm really excited to listen to that conversation immediately after this. Fran, now onto the moment that we've all been kind of waiting for and building towards, and we got to talk about it. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I don't know if you heard, but big news. Did you hear? They got engaged? Oh,
wow. Mazel to the happy couple.
Imagine that. Okay, tell me about your reaction to the news, to the way that it broke, to the conversation that emerged online.
I was really surprised by it. I was in the office that day, and there was like a kind of series of abstract yelps coming from every possible angle. Sure. I think with a new album rollout, we had been maybe primed to see countdowns every day, every other day towards variants. And you know, she's been, though this is quite a public relationship, she's still relatively private, and it sort of felt like, okay, she's going to go on New Heights to promote the album. That's all we'll hear about this relationship for a while till we see her at a game. And it kind of came out of nowhere. But as she said in that interview, she's not doing Easter eggs about her personal life, so that if she has an announcement to make, there's going to be no warning whatsoever. And it really derailed the day in kind of the best and funniest possible way.
First of all, before I get the reactions from the rest of the table, because I know you all got some takes and some of them are not necessarily correct. We'll get there in a moment. But Fran, the thing that I'm curious about is that you just said Taylor Swift is a relatively private person, which I think, like, to me that tracks as a fan. I'm a longtime fan, so I can sort of like go, there are clear boundaries to me in terms of like what she's willing to divulge and disclose and what she's not willing to. But I don't think people think of her as a private person maybe because of the diaristic nature of the songwriting. How do you think her privacy is sort of like seen or maybe like missed by a lot of people, you think?
I think a lot of people don't understand the natures of her relationships until she writes a song about them. And the relationship with Travis Kelce is still relatively newish. I mean, they've been together for 2 years, but maybe only a half or a quarter of an album cycle for her. And that's in turn all we really know about their dynamic is a song like So High School, which is what she included with the announcement of their engagement. And so despite how present she is in the ethos, up until New Heights came out, I think we had no true sense of what it's like when those two have a conversation. So it's like we've just gotten a lot of them in the last couple weeks where it's all starting to make sense what's going on here. And the big takeaway I felt and I heard from other people watching New Heights is like, they're really in love. these two really are crazy about each other.
Yeah.
And in that sense, the engagement wasn't a big surprise at all.
Well, Rihanna, I do have to say that, like, you had this news cycle a couple of weeks ago where Taylor announced a new album, and it was exhausting, as every sort of Taylor Swift news cycle tends to be. Once again, saying this as a Swiftie, I kind of go like, I'm interested, but I totally understand that people are not, you know. But then this news comes out. And to me, it doesn't feel like a part of an album rollout, but then other people are sort of reading it as like a way of building publicity. I'm like, she doesn't need to build publicity. Does this feel to you like it's a part of the rollout plan of the life of a showgirl? Like, to me, it doesn't, but I don't know where you fall on this.
Well, I'm less of a Swiftie than you. I'm a little bit more critical.
Yes, yes,
but
that's
what
true.
I will say is that I think Taylor Swift is like the greatest businesswoman in pop right now. I think she really knows how to market her music and craft, I think, not just a musical timeline that works, but a personal timeline, you know? And I think announcing this engagement so close to the album release feels like, I'm not gonna say it's inauthentic, but like it was definitely calculated.
Rihanna said brand synergy, Elamin. Brand synergy.
That's what's up. That's what's up, though. You know, like she's able to do that, and she's able to do it well.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this engagement happened months ago, but she's waiting until this moment so that now listeners could be like, oh, well, she's going to talk about Travis on the new album. She's going to talk about this engagement on the new album. Let me go peep that, even though maybe I'm less interested than I would be previously.
First of all, real ones know she got engaged 2 weeks ago, but like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? It's because Papa Ed Kelsey dropped it on a podcast. But it's fine. It's totally fine. Natalie, I'm conscious of the fact that Taylor Swift has sort of tried to thread this needle the entirety of her career of being like, hey, I'm also a sexual being, and I will sometimes allude to that in my music and in the imagery, but maybe not too much. And then you sort of get some of the rollout, you know, promo images for the life of a showgirl. And people are like, that's more sexual than we've seen her be before. And then, you know, a couple weeks later, there is this kind of like a return to the institution of marriage. Does it feel to you like you're reading, you know, the announcement as part of being like, hey, I'm still the all-American girl. Don't be too shocked by the images that you saw from the life of a showgirl sort of promo.
That this is a 35-year-old woman, you know. She wants us to remember, yes, we've grown up with her. I remember, I think the first time I started listening to her, I was in grade 7, so I was 12 years old.
Don't tell me that. Never tell me that ever again, but thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry. This is the truth. This is the truth. This is
Every
the
once in a while,
truth.
people go like, people are born after you, Elamin. Get over it. It's fine. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, getting married is it's seen as being one of the most serious or adult things that you can do. So I think, to me, this is kind of reflective of that. It's saying, I'm older, I'm more mature now. I've been with these, you know, ex-boyfriends who haven't treated me the best, but now I finally settled down with the love of my life, and we're going to ride off into the sunset together. So to me, I think that's kind of what the imagery is also saying a little bit.
I realize that I'm completely like loading the die here. I'm totally completely just like giving the last word to Fran. Fran, while we know that Rihanna and Natalie have all kinds of thoughts that are maybe not correct about Taylor's ring, the ring has created a lot of conversation. Like, the images of the ring have created a lot of conversation because I think it's an unexpected ring from someone like a Taylor Swift. Tell me about your reaction to the ring, not Natalie and not Rihanna. Go for it. Only Fran, yes.
I think the ring is kind of deliciously strange and unexpected for her. I think she gets somewhat fairly derided as being very basic in her aesthetic tastes, but I think it's interesting that it appears to be a kind of old Mind Stone. Like, it doesn't have that like super sparkly, either new or generated diamond look. It looks quite old and a little bit cloudy. And everyone keeps saying that the size of the ring is sort of summoning to mind like a Super Bowl ring. And while it's maybe like so big that Travis Kelce can see it, it's a weird and interesting shape. And it's really unique. And it doesn't look like what a lot of other people have right now. But I think in 5 years, a lot of other people will have rings that look like that.
And frankly, that is to her credit. And also, one of the wild things you can do on the show is go, yikes, we're out of time. Rihanna and Natalie cannot weigh in on that ring. How unfortunate is that? I got to say thank you to all of you. I really appreciate your time. This has been tremendous. I really appreciate you. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, Elamin.
Oh,
Thank you.
You guys are the best. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We will be back. We will see you on Monday. In the meantime, have yourself a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.